Hey everyone, I'm Liz Ferry and welcome to another episode of my crochet lesson series. In this episode, we'll be going over the process of making a single crochet stitch in the round. Single crochet is the primary stitch used for making amigurumi and other types of dolls, because the densely packed stitches make it harder for the filling to leak out through the stitches of the doll, if you're using a high enough tension. Working the single crochet in the round is essential for making dolls. If that's something you'd like to get into, you'll definitely need to master the single crochet in the round. If you want to see my full video on what you'll need to begin crocheting, check out my crochet materials list video. For the process of making the single crochet stitch, you'll just need yarn, a crochet hook, and stitch markers. If you want to learn more on how to crochet the single crochet stitch, you can check out my single crochet stitch tutorial. In that tutorial, I discussed how to single crochet in rows, and how to make the basic stitch. In this video, I won't go into as much detail on how to make the actual stitch. We're just going to build on top of what we learned in the last video, and use some of the techniques from the older episodes of this series to learn to crochet in the round. Working in the round means I'll be single crocheting in a circle instead of in a line. First I'll show you how to begin working a basic flat circle in the round, then I'll show you how to work a tube in the round. For this technique, you'll need to know how to make a slip knot, and how to crochet the chain stitch, the slip stitch, and the single crochet stitch. To begin the work in the round, I've started with a slip knot and a foundation chain of just 3, and I've slip stitched to the first chain to join the foundation chain in a circle. This is so that there isn't a very large hole at the middle of my circle. If you want to create a circle with a hole in the middle, you can always start your work with the larger chain. Or if you want to learn how to eliminate the hole in the middle, check out my magic circle tutorial. Now to work in the round, I'll create single crochet stitches into the circle. So I'll insert my hook into the middle of the circle, yarn over, pull up a loop in the circle, yarn over again, and pull that loop through the 2 loops on my hook. Then I'll mark the first stitch. And I'll repeat that until I have enough stitches to fill out the circle. Since this is such a small circle, I should only need about 6 to 8 stitches to create a flat circle. Once I finish adding stitches to my circle, I can join the first stitch to the last stitch using a slip stitch to complete the circle. Or I could use increases to continue to add more rows. To learn more about how to crochet a flat circle in the round, check out my increasing and decreasing tutorial. Of course, you don't need to decrease or increase when working in the round if you don't need for the width of your work to get bigger or smaller. You could also create a basic tube working in the round. If I wanted to create a tube instead of a flat circle, I need the amount of stitches in the row to match the amount of stitches in my foundation chain. I'll start with a chain of 10. Then I'll join the foundation chain into a circle by slip stitching into the first chain. Then you could just work 10 single crochets around the whole chain, like when we were making the flat circle. And you could adjust them along the chain by pulling them back and forth to sort of even them out. This is the easier method of doing this. Another option, though, is to work each stitch into each loop of the foundation chain individually, so that they're a little neater. Again, I've started with a foundation chain of 10, joined with a slip stitch. Something important to note though, is that the slip stitch that I made to join the circle will not count as a stitch of the foundation chain. That stitch is acting as the seam of the work. So just to bear that in mind, I'm going to mark that stitch, so that we know not to work into that stitch. I'll talk more about how to crochet seamlessly in the round in a future video. Next I'll chain 1 to act as the first stitch of the row. And I'll mark that stitch too. So now I know that when I come to the end of the row, I should skip the first marked stitch, the slip stitch, and join the last stitch of the row to the second marked stitch, which is the first stitch of the row. So now to make the next single crochet stitch of the row, I'll insert my hook into the next stitch from the stitch we just chained up from, which is the second chain of the foundation chain here. Then I'll yarn over, pull up a loop in that stitch, then pull another loop through the 2 loops on my hook. And then insert my hook into the next stitch of the foundation chain. Pull up a loop, and pull another loop through the 2 loops on my hook. Keep adding single crochet stitches to each chain of the foundation until you reach the end of the row, where we marked those 2 stitches. Then skip the first marked stitch and slip stitch into the second marked stitch instead, to join the first and the last stitches of the row together. Then just continue to add rows and rows of stitches by repeating the process. First, I'll mark this stitch, which is the slip stitch seam that I just made, so that I know not to work into that stitch in the next row. Then chain 1 to act as the first stitch of the row. Mark that stitch 2 as the first stitch of the row. And now I know that when I come to the end of the row, I should skip the first marked stitch and slip stitch to the second marked stitch to end the row. Now I'll single crochet into the next stitch of the row and continue to add single crochets until the end of the row. Then at the end of the row, skip the first marked stitch, slip stitch into the second marked stitch, and then mark that slip stitch as the new seam of the row. Then chain 1 to start a new row, mark that as the first stitch, and continue adding single crochets until the end of the row. Once you want to end the work, do the final slip stitch at the end to join the first and last stitches together, Then cut off the yarn and pull the cut off end through the loop of the slip stitch. You can use this technique when making arms and legs of dolls, or for parts of doll clothing, like sleeves, pants, tops, and skirts. Once you learn to increase and decrease single crochet in the round, there's no limit to what you can do using the stitch. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a like and share it on social media. And if you'd really like to help out the channel, you can donate to my Patreon. You can get some pretty cool perks through Patreon, like seeing my videos early, access to some of my prototype patterns, and discounts in my Ravelry store, depending on your level of donation. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/fairyrings. You could also subscribe and click the bell icon so that you don't miss the next episode of this series when it comes out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!